also with heavily slurred speech, and he uttered that, "Hey, I got a valid arrest warrant involving weapons, and I sell guns to kids." That was his quote.
Welcome to Rebel Chaser. My name is Gail, and for this clip, we go to Michigan's 27th District Court and Judge Elizabeth DeSanto. She has two drunk geniuses in her court for first appearance. Let me know what you guys think.
The case of the state of Michigan versus Ryan Jones, 231-993, and the state of Michigan versus Scott Hand, 231-992. And Detective, your name for the record, please.
Detective Steve Sable, Your Honor.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear from testimony about to give this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. You may proceed on the warrants.
Thank you, Your Honor. And on 8/16 of this year, 2023, at approximately 00:47 hours, Mr. Hand, defendant one, was operating his tan 2004 Chevy Blazer in the city of Wyandotte, the county of Wayne, and he was traveling near the intersection of Biddle Avenue and Ford Avenue when Officer Grote saw defective equipment with no light for the license plate on the motor vehicle while in motion. He effectuated a traffic stop, and Mr. Hand, who was later identified as the operator or driver, while co-defendant, defendant number two, Ryan Jones, was in the passenger seat. They came to a stop, and Officer Grote made contact with the driver, Mr. Hand. He explained the defective equipment and also could smell a strong odor of intoxicants coming from Mr. Hand and his slurred speech during his contact with him. Mr. Hand said that he had a couple of beverages, alcoholic beverages, earlier in the night. And when asked where he was headed by Officer Grote, Mr. Hand replied that he was coming from Brownstown and going to Carlton, which, by the way, both of those south downriver communities are both south of the city of Wyandotte. I don't believe he knew where he was at the time. At that time, Officer Grote heard the front seat passenger, defendant number two, Mr. Ryan Jones, say that he was, in fact, his name was Ryan Jones, also with heavily slurred speech, and he uttered that, "Hey, I got a valid arrest warrant involving weapons, and I sell guns to kids." That was his quote. Officer Grote went around to the passenger seat and asked Mr. Ryan Jones, defendant number two, to step out, which he did. During a pat-down or frisk, a pair of brass knuckles folding knife combination was taken off of defendant two's possession from his pocket. The total length of the weapon, dangerous weapon, was 8 inches approximately. He was secured and handcuffed by Officer Grote. Then the contact with Mr. Hand continued. He was asked if there was anything inside the vehicle, weapons or contraband, and he was very polite and cooperative and said, "Yes, I got a .38 snub nose in the center console of the vehicle." Officer Grote asked him if he had a CPL, Michigan Concealed Pistol License, and he said no, he did not. Mr. Hand was asked to step out from the vehicle, which he did. Noting before the alcohol, the slurred speech, etc., Officer Grote put him through the standardized field sobriety tests for an investigation for drinking and driving. He ultimately completed the test as required, but failed miserably. Also was asked to submit to a preliminary breath test, a PBT, after his chemical test rights were read to him, PBT rights, and his result yielded a 0.24 blood alcohol. He was also secured and placed under arrest. In the motor vehicle center console were the loaded firearm, several rounds of ammunition, a prescription bottle with Susan Hand's name on it, with miscellaneous pills in the same prescription bottle, in addition to some handcuffs and other items. The two were transported back to the station. Mr. Hand was read his chemical test rights. He consented and gave breath samples, one resulting in 0.22 blood alcohol and 0.21. He was fingerprinted and processed and lodged. While trying to lodge or process defendant 2, Mr. Jones, he became aggressive with the officers. Officer Stromberg and Officer Gardaki had to intervene. And ultimately, he was processed and lodged as well. So to make sure that I hit all the points, the concealed weapons for Mr. Hand, I believe I've accomplished. The weapons dangerous weapon for Mr. Ryan Jones with the brass knuckle knife combination in his pocket. I believe I've met the court's requirements as well. Operating with a high BAC for defendant 1, also being in possession of a firearm while intoxicated for defendant number 1, and also his operating while intoxicated. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Upon examination of complaining witness, I find the offenses charged are committed. There's probable cause to believe the defendants committed these offenses. Okay, and Mr. Westmoreland, your appearance, please.
Attorney Corey Westmoreland appearing on behalf of Mr. Jones.
Okay. And Mr. Jones, your name, please.
Ryan Jones.
All right. And Mr. Goldpaw, your appearance, please.
Your Honor, John Goldpaw on behalf of Mr. Scott Hand, P30758. This is on 23-199.
Thank you. And Mr. Hand, your name, please.
Scott Daniel Hand.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Westmoreland, as to the arraignment.
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, we are prepared to waive a formal reading. My client stands mute.
And Mr. Goldpaw, as to the arraignment for your client.
Your Honor, he would leave a formal reading of the charges, stand mute to those charges, and ask the pleas of not guilty be entered on this.
All right. And Mr. Hand and Mr. Jones, please pay attention to the rights I'm about to indicate. You each have the right to have an attorney. You cannot afford one. The court will appoint one to represent you. And in fact, you each had an opportunity to speak to an attorney while you've been in custody. Is that correct, Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Hand?
Yes, ma'am.
You each have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You each have the right to have a trial by a judge or by a jury, and you each have the right to remain silent. Anything you say orally or in writing may be used against you in court. Do you understand those rights, Mr. Hand?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand those rights, Mr. Jones?
Yes.
All right. The court's going to enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. We're going to schedule this matter for a probable cause conference on Friday, August 25th at the 28th District Court. And that will be at 9 a.m. The court has also signed the order for a court-appointed attorney for felony matters as well for each of you. And Mr. Goldpaw, as to bond for Mr. Hand.
Your Honor, Mr. Hand is 47-year-old. He's a veteran, military veteran. He went through a toxic relationship in Louisiana where he was previously residing. He now lives with his parents in Carlton. Because of his PSD, I'm sorry, he has PSTD. He's going through medication. He's on a list to go to Camp Hope for that PSD. That's down in Texas. He's also filed with the DEA for benefits. Further, he had just been recently diagnosed with early stages of dementia. The weapon belonged to his stepson, who passed away down in Louisiana about a year ago. was basically brought up with him when he came to live with his parents. He has no prior criminal record. And also, Your Honor, he did have an OUIL back in Louisiana back in 2013. That was resolved. There was a mix-up about some of his reporting, but he has always complied with any court's judgment. We are asking for a minimal bond. He understands the seriousness of these charges, and as the officer indicated, he was quite cooperative with the police. We're asking for a personal bond. Obviously, there is a high VAC and he's deal with felony warrants, but he doesn't have any other prior criminal record, particularly felony.
Okay. And Mr. Osborne, before I get to you, I'm just going to finish up with Mr. Hand. Mr. Hand, excuse me, how long have you been in the state of Michigan?
Well, since approximately January 22nd.
Of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and the court does appreciate your military service to the country, to our country, and sir, you're not working?
I'm sorry?
You're not working?
No, ma'am. I have no monetary income.
I'm sorry?
My parents.
Circumstances and that's why he's living with his parents while they help him through his times because of it. As well.
Do you receive any benefits from the VA, sir?
Any benefits from the VA?
I believe I postponed.
My understanding, he is receiving Medicare, Medicaid, but he has filed for VA benefits.
But he's not receiving any.
Not that he's related to.
Okay. All right, Detective Sabo, as to bond for Mr. Hand.
For Mr. Hand, Your Honor, I think alcohol is really the issue. I'd like to see a moderate bond. It is a serious felony and misdemeanor combination of $10,000 cash and a GPS alcohol tether. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. All right, the court's going to take into account a number of factors. Number one, the pending charges and the seriousness of those charges. The fact that Mr. Hand, other than his parents, does not have any specific ties here to the community. He's been in Michigan since January of 2023. And the court, for those reasons, wants to ensure the safety of the public as well as the safety of Mr. Hand, and wants to ensure his presence in court. The court does find that a $10,000 here's what I'm going to indicate. I'm going to indicate $10,000 cash bond.
Right, could that be a 10% bond? He has no prior criminal record.
Counsel, he does. He has a prior OWI that would consider that to be a criminal record.
He has no prior felony agriculture. The prior one was 10 years ago.
The court will indicate a $25,000 10% bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
In the event bond is posted, GPS and alcohol tether to the Wayne County Jail.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, and then Mr. Westmoreland adds to Mr. Jones.
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to know that Mr. Jones resides in Brownstown. He currently is collecting Social Security disability, so he's on a very, very limited income. He does not have any other pending matters at this time. He's not currently on probation or parole. And after speaking with him at length this morning, he did indicate to me that he would be appearing all future court dates. He's not a flight risk whatsoever. So I would just ask that this honorable court take all that into consideration when assessing the bond on behalf of the client.
All right, Mr. Jones, you're not working?
I'm not working. I'm on disability.
What's the nature of your disability, sir?
It's I've well, since I was a kid, I have had growth hormone, and also I have really great depression and panic attacks, and I have what you call I have seizures. I'm epileptic. Yeah.
Okay. And how long have you been residing in Brownstown?
A little over a year.
And who do you reside there with?
My mother.
You're not still hanging out with Miss Cotton, are you?
Pardon me?
You're not still hanging out with Miss Cotton, are you?
No.
Are you currently on probation or parole anywhere, sir?
What do you mean by that? Like under probation or? I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
Yes. Are you currently on probation or parole anywhere?
Nothing, no.
Are you out on bond in any other jurisdiction?
Meaning as in like, can I post bond?
No. Do you have any other court cases that are pending?
No.
All right, detective, as to bond for Mr. Jones. Can you get Mr. Hand, please?
Yes, Your Honor. For Mr. Jones, with his weapon possession, $20,000, 10%.
And Mr. Jones, if you were to test today, what would be detected in your system?
She'll
Mr.
repeat
Jones,
it.
if you were to test today, what would be detected in your system?
Drugs. So, oh no, just my medications.
Medications that you're prescribed?
Yes.
All right, what is your rent? You said give money to who do you give money to for your rent?
Oh no, I think I must have misunderstood. I must have misunderstood that question.
No, sir, I'm reading from your request recorded for an attorney, and I can't read your writing. Who do you give rent to, sir? Who do you pay your rent to?
Oh, to my mother.
Okay, that isn't what I thought that said. Okay. All right. And sir, do you own any weapons?
No.
Okay. Given Mr. Jones' previous criminal history, the pending charges, the court's going to indicate a $20,000 10% bond. You are to have a GPS tether. The court's going to also indicate both for Mr. Jones and for Mr. Hand, you're not to possess or have access to any weapons or firearms. And you're not to possess or consume any alcohol or drugs that are not prescribed. So Mr. Hand, do you have any weapons
No, ma'am.
or firearms at your home?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Jones, do you have any weapons or firearms at your home?
No.
Okay,
No, Your Honor.
all right. And then next Friday at the 28th District Court.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Your Honor. Good luck, Mr. Mann.
Thank you. Have a good day.
I guess they know now what not to say in front of a police officer. But like I said, they're geniuses. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.